Hey Lucy, how's it going? We're made it. We've made it. Looks like we're just getting settled. I'm just making sure everything is set. I've been watching the Friday the 13th movies, and I mean, I've watched the first one and just started the second one. So I've watched them all, obviously. And I completely forgot that Kevin Bacon is in the first one, which is awesome. Because who doesn't love Kevin Bacon? Ben, how's it? Ben Vicar, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, Yoon? Echo issues. Are you guys getting echo issues too? So I'm getting echo. I don't know what is going on with that. Is it me or I can only hear one side of the headphones? Let's see. Is this getting any better? Let's just try this. Echo and left ear doesn't sound like me. Everyone's got the echo. I hear the echo too. I don't know what has happened with my system, so I may just switch to something else if I can't get this to work. A little echo and reverb. Let's see. Just trying some different settings. If any of this is changing. Okay, did any of that change? Does this help at all? No, probably not. Two sides now. Did they sound like me? Did I just lose my audio? Let's see. Okay, does that sound any better? No echo? No, that has echo. Is this any better? Yes! Perfect. I don't know what it is. I feel like I battle with my audio all the time. I still hear the echo in here, but I don't know how to fix that. So, yes. Solid Snake. Jimmy! How's it going, Jimmy? Oh, I got it. You got it for a second. Is it no longer? Is it still? Oh, it's. Is it any better? Ooh. Oh, thanks. We're getting there. She's getting there. So this has been fun because I've been testing this out on the new Surface Pro, believe it or not. So I've just been seeing like how far can I get it. It's a little bit. I'm gonna do a review. I think I need to do a full review to talk about the pros and cons because I like it, and it's nearly exactly what I want. But it's mostly just getting used to like having a tablet instead of a full computer, a giant screen, and so like going from this giant screen to like a wee bitty screen takes some getting used to, and also like figuring out how. I mean, I use the full keyboard all the time on the desktop. I use a billion different hotkeys. I guess I don't. I use like 5. But I use hotkeys, period. And so it's just been a little bit of getting used to like a new workflow. So what do I think is really for? I don't know what is. But it is interesting because like I've spent the majority of this, like I did all the posing in with my Surface, not my Surface. What is it? Mobile Studio Pro, and it's I feel like that reverb is back or worse. Let's see here. Hi from Brazil. Awesome. Let's see. Is that any better? Can you guys hear me? For me, this is better. I'm getting less reverb this way. But I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me say something like, "There's someone behind you"? Sorry, I'm late. I must have missed the conspiracy theory du jour. We haven't even started on the conspiracy theory du jour. I sound fine on Facebook. Thanks, Rob. No good, just the left sound. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm having some issues with. Is that any better? We'll see. More echo now in the left ear audio. My goodness, what's going on? Strange ambience. Yeah, that's. I wanted to set the spooky mood. Okay, let's see here. Stream only. Audio. Stereo's back. He's like, God. Oh, bow down before me. Oh, you can't hear me at all now. Now it's all gone. Oh no. I apologize for this. One of these days, we're just going to open this up and it's going to always work. And I'm going to be very happy. You are a graphic man. No. It's good now. Now it's perfect. Don't touch anything. Okay. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to pretend like it's okay on my side. And if it's better on your guys' side. So that's good. Okay, yes. Anyways, what is the conspiracy theory today is, let's jump on to, have you guys heard the one about the black-eyed children? Has anybody heard that one? Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't think about touching it. I want to know if anyone's heard this conspiracy before. The black-eyed children. I'm going to pull this up because this is a real thing. This is more like lore than anything else. Ooh, they're making a movie about the black-eyed children. So let's see. This is like the black-eyed children type stories. But it's interesting. This is a newer lore thing. It's not really newer, I guess, but it's a thing. Wasn't that an X-Files? It might have been. This has been a quieter like piece of lore. But it's been really cool. Ooh, ready for this? Whoosh! Oh no, wait. Sorry. Whoosh! Whoosh! I guess. Whoosh! Why can't I activate Sculptors Pro? Oh, I'm in Move. Whoosh! Sculptors Pro. Lately, I've been doing a lot of stuff with the Sculptors Pro because it's been kind of fun to do. A little bit more like freeform. Anyways, the black-eyed children, which so it's kind of like a combination from what it sounds like to of like the hitchhiking ghosts and devil children, but the lore of it is that these children come to your house like late at night, like in the middle of the night, like 1 or 2 a.m., and they say that they are in trouble or are sick or need help, and try to make you let them into their house, but they won't come into your house unless you actually invite them in. Not unto like a ghost, not a ghost, a vampire. But like there's more and more of these reports lately, like I mean stemming from like 2000 up to now, like, but they date back really really early of like 1700. There's a report, there's like stories of these black-eyed children, these children that look like normal children except for they have black eyes, like their eyes are black. Does that make sense? Is this audio too loud? Ooh. Like a like a goose. Like a goose. I don't like that one. Switching. But yeah, it's kind of this cool thing of like these people. I mean, I listened to this whole talk show about them, and these people called in, and they had, some of them you could kind of tell either they were lying or that was not the real story, which is kind of hard. But what am I even getting at? Anyways, the black-eyed children is just kind of a cool, scary story, and also like makes me look at my kids like, is this you? No, Daddy, we would never do that to you. Come, join us in the wilderness, and we will. Sorry, where am I from? I am from Salt Lake, Utah, the tropical lakes of Utah. So I'm really into Halloween, if you guys know anything about me. I was in, hey, the lenses, you're up in Salt Lake too, that's sweet. Yeah, Salt Lake, born and bred. 801. But like we used to do horror. We would used to make our own horror movies and show them at a local theater up at the Tower Theaters for the lenses. If you know, have you ever been to the Tower Theaters down at 9th and 9th? We would rent that out and we would do like a big event and have like a local band come and play and have a costume contest and all sorts of fun, cool stuff. Geez, you saw Stephen King Salem lot from 1979. When I was around 8, my grandmother had no idea what was going on. Oh, that's really cool. Korea! Hey, thanks for coming by. That's awesome. Angry Monday, how's it going? From Argentina. Oh my gosh, you guys are all over. That is so cool. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're going to maybe have some fun. Maybe talk about some conspiracies. Maybe talk about some scary things. But anyways, we would make these horror movies, and I wonder, hold on. Yes. I'm not going to show the whole, I can't show I don't think I can show any of the video, but this young scallywag right here, that's me. at a younger, slimmer time. But we had some great moments on this. Look, oh, look at this is my first. This is my cameo right here. No, wait a second. Oh, this is the terrifying. I don't want to ruin it for you guys. Uh, this is called The Hitchhiker. We got hussies. So sorry. Pixelogic is going to delete this whole thing for sure, but we got to see me come out. Here it comes. Ooh, who's that strapping young lad? Oh, anyways, if you have 20 minutes to kill, that's a good way to waste your time. What tablet do I use? This tablet that I'm using here today. This is a Cintiq 27-inch HD. It's a few years old, but I love it. It seems to me like the perfect size. The new 32-inch is really cool too, but I don't know. I mean, of course I would like more size, but this seems to be like the optimal. So I'm not like whoosh whoosh. It's a good one. The beard was always there. Oh yeah. And then yes, Mr. Smith, I just got the Wacko Mobile Studio Pro, which I've been. This is actually who I made. All the posing and the refinements, everything, but besides like where I left off. I think the last stream I left off on this gal. I took it over in the Mobile Studio Pro and I've done the rest in this. And it's actually really nice. I haven't experienced any sort of lag or any, the battery's been fine. I mean, you're getting not killer battery, but it's not horrible. I mean, I was sitting it down and sculpting for 3 hours and was fine. It probably got to less than 20%, probably around 15% less from starting from full. But I'm hardly I'm hardly ever anywhere longer than 3 hours where I wouldn't be next to some sort of plug. The hardest thing to get used to, one of the hardest things, is it's big. Like, it's not just like an iPad. I mean, iPad I think is awesome, the 12-inch one, and I have that too, and I use that for sketching, which made me crave ZBrush on a mobile device even more because I saw how powerful it was and how much it's transformed my drawing habits. So having the Mobile Studio Pro has been really nice to have, just simply to be able to sit down, not in my cave, or go to the coffee shop, which has been fun. Go to the coffee shop and just sculpt for an hour before I start my day, which is really nice. The hardest thing actually about it is just getting used to it because I've set it up. I don't ever want to carry a keyboard with me. I think that defeats the purpose of a mobile tablet, is if you need a keyboard. And so my whole idea is like, okay, if I'm going to keep this thing, because it's an investment, I think it's crazy expensive. But if I'm going to keep it, then I want this to be my mobile experience. I don't want to be lugging around a keyboard and I want to sit down, feel comfortable with it. And so I've been setting up the hotkeys and figuring out. I've rearranged my whole UI strictly for mobile to optimize screen space and the bare necessities of what I'll be using is the most. And then kind of refining from there. So it's been really good so far. I'm still, getting used to it, but it's been really impressive. I wouldn't pose these hands and built this thing with the Z modeler brush and to be able to still feel pretty comfortable has been nice. I mean, obviously, one of the things is the resolution is a lot different because it's working in a zoomed thing. So I'm kind of testing out if I can take that back or not take that back, but just adjust the zoom on it, which I can because ZBrush is pretty nice when it comes to adjusting the UI. Keyboards are non-practical. Yeah, it is. It's really non-practical. So because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. It has 8 hotkeys like buttons on the side, and then a wheel that's a touch wheel, which does some really cool stuff. So I'm able to do mostly what I want to do with it. Just going to start sculpting on this dress a little bit. Turn off that mug. So I feel good. I want to do a full review because there's cons with it too. I mean, there are cons, but I want to like fully address why, like the pros and the negatives, and you know, I think it's good, not perfect, and I'm still deciding if it's great or not. Oh, Maker JP, some of you are showing your tutorial at work. Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Manho Batra, how's it going? Thank you. So, anyways, I'm really excited about the possibilities. I'm still not 100. I haven't decided 100% if I'm keeping it yet. I want it to be like, I want it to be exactly what I need it to be, if that makes sense. But there's still a lot of promise on it. All the sculptors at work are looking at ZBrush. Yes, yes, bring the sculptors over to the dark side. No way, I'm actually wanting to get more into traditional sculpting the more I do digital sculpting, just because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Not 100% sure if I'm keeping it yet. That's exactly what I overheard my parents talking about after I found out I was. Nice Wonder Mustard. Nope. Lost my music, so I'm just getting back to it. Ambient. Okay. Here we go. I mean, it's definitely, well, the thing is, like, I've been saving, I've nearly purchased the previous model several times. And I've just been, like, waiting ever since last year, pretty much, because I was like, well, what if they do an update? You know, and then the more I waited, the more I had, like, I had to wait for it, because I had waited so long. It was like, oh, now they're going to do an upgrade, and I'm going to have to get that, because it's not worth not waiting anymore. So what I'm doing now is I'm finding kind of where the tension point is going to be. So like, because the knee is actually floating out just a little bit here, I want a fold to be right there. Then the others can just be rhythmical folds, except for right here is going to be another point. And then right here will be kind of an overlapping point. When you went to any art school? I didn't actually go. Well, I mean, I did go to an art school. I went to a 3D training school, like it was a technical school. So they taught 3D modeling, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday type of thing, and it was awesome. Like it was very eye opening to me actually, of like how I how I would imagine an actual school experience should be, because it was just, teaching you only what you needed to know and nothing else, which was really cool. So small classes. There was about 7 of us, I think, in the class, and it was it was just extremely helpful. There we go. To have and they brought in people from the industry all the time. So we had talks from people from Valve and from Zombie Studios that was up there in Seattle, and concept artists came in. Like this artist Brahm was really cool. Came in. They did a puppet master class where they had a guy who worked on the original Muppets come in, and he taught some cool stuff. And we did some puppet tier training, and it was a lot of fun. Little jokes in your tutorials are really effective. It lightens the mood. Oh, good. I'm glad they don't turn you off. It keeps me entertained as well. Um, uh, Shaquille Green, you and Shane Elser are one of my favorite artists. You both have such clean Disney feel. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, it was just, I loved working with Shane. Shane is the man. I've heard great things about his school program thing too. So yeah, I miss working with him. He, it's nice to work with someone who kind of understands good aesthetic like he does. So he's doing some really cool stuff right now. Trying to find the rhythm of the folds. Folds are sometimes some of the most relaxing things to sculpt. I don't know if that's going to be the right rhythm right there, but finding the key to go to good folds is finding the tension points. Like her hips are weighted, so this is the angle of her hips. So the actual point of the tension is going to be here. But then there's also this, because the inside, this is going to be the other point where it's going to fold in, and then we've got another area of tension. So the fold should come, kind of follow this area here. And then again, like this is going to be another area of tension from here to here. And then it should fold and have the relief there. So just trying to find some of that right now. Hey Matt, what do you usually focus on when transforming a 2D concept to 3D, like general rules? General rules that I like to follow. That's a fantastic question. Basically, are shapes and silhouette. You know, when I don't know if you're very familiar with 2D drawing at all, but I've studied 2D drawing quite a bit just because it's always been a passion of mine. You know, and I feel like understanding that kind of sharpens my other skills too. So one of the key things is in 2D design is just silhouette, rhythm and flow, line of action, balance, and shape language. Shape language is key, and it's sometimes you'll see artists that are really technically good sculptors, like they're very, very talented sculptors, but you can see that they have maybe a lack of 2D design. And so instead of having areas of focus and areas of relief, or just like an overall aesthetic to a piece, it gets muddied in the complexity. And so that's kind of what I like to focus on. It's just, you know, I want to hit certain shapes. Like, I want to hit some of these shapes over here, you know? I want to hit that and have it kind of mirror, and I'm focusing on tilts. So she's got these cool tilts to her, and I think I've hit that. You know, simple graphical shapes that can help push the design. Those are the things I'm looking for. I'm trying to think of. I've never really done Discord. Apparently, Discord is a thing that people enjoy. I've never even tried it, so maybe it's something I should try. But I'm sure there's some good groups out there. I think we hired actually someone from a Discord group just recently, that someone knew. Yeah. So I had built. This has been just kind of a fun experiment because I've been building. I took this over from the stream to work on. I brought this on with my Mobile Studio Pro just to see how I liked it handle. To see how well it would handle a full character and if it felt comfortable. And so far, it's been really good. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a learning experience. It's definitely not something that like you open it up and it's ready to go. Like I think that's probably one of the strongest points to the iPad. I mean, not that you can really compare the two because they are very different purposes, in my opinion. But the iPad, like you open that thing up and it's ready to go. Like there's no There's no setup. You can you can download a program and instantly be drawing within minutes. And I spent about 2 solid nights setting it up, getting the applications where I needed them to be, doing the things that were going to make it feel comfortable. So it's closer, and I'm still kind of modifying things as I'm going through. So it's getting there for sure. It's just you kind of have to have a game plan for sure of how you want to set things up. And that's what I've been thinking about over this past, as I'm waiting for it to arrive, like, okay, so knowing that I don't want a keyboard, and how do I use ZBrush where I heavily use a keyboard? Like, I'm constantly resizing my brush, flipping things around, pulling in, pushing out, switching brushes. How can I do that comfortably on a mobile device? It's not been too bad. Yeah, just focusing on basic shapes, silhouette. Ooh, cybernetic brain implants? Joy to key? Ooh, I don't know what joy to key is. You use that, that's the best. I tried using, Tablet Pro. And I've actually really liked Tablet Pro. I've used it on my mobile studio. I had a Surface Pro, like a Surface Pro 3 years ago, which it was really nice. It worked really well for that. So I tried it on the Mobile Studio Pro, and for some reason, like, the touch would only work as soon as I would pull the pen away, and it just didn't feel like it wouldn't do both at the same time. And it was always like I spent too much time trying to fight it. I'm like, okay, what can I? So I uninstalled it, and then I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with just these 8 hotkeys in this touch ring? What can I do? And apparently you can do a lot. Like, I figured out, and it's helpful because I got the Wacom 3D pen, which has the third button, which has been a lifesaver for it. Because if I didn't have that third button, I don't know if I would be satisfied, because I'm just switching things so often. I'm using, mainly because ZBrush has this. This is a big thing to get around because all the hotkeys, you have Shift, Control, and then you have Alt for inverse. So like Alt, mask, and Alt, Control Alt, mask, Control Shift, and then Control Shift Alt to unmask. That was a hard thing to get around, but I mapped one of the buttons to Control and Shift, and then I have one of the floating or one of the Mobile Studio hotkeys to Alt and Control and Shift, and I was able to do pretty much all the navigational stuff just fine. There's a third button, yes, on the Wacom 3D pen, and it's so nice. And the thing that bums me out about it is I can't use that on this. Like it's incompatible with my Cintiq for some reason, like my big Cintiq, which I'm so bugged about because I'm sure it works just fine. There's no eraser to it, so they took off the eraser. They have a button here, and then 1/3 here. I'm gonna show this off a little bit. So here, so this is it. You know, there's no and because I never use this anyways. It's just the 3 buttons, and it works great. It really is a lifesaver for the Mobile Studio Pro, I think. Zoom in, please. Oh, on the picture? I don't know. Matt, what glove do I use? So the glove that I like to use is by DokiWare. I love these gloves so much that I've purchased like 7 of them because I have one at work, one in my backpack, one at my desk, one in my travel bag, and then I have backup ones that I haven't even used yet. I guess I shouldn't take it out of the packaging to show it off. But I really like these. I think they're lesser. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're still plugging away, but they're awesome gloves. So I buy them, I buy 3 at a time because eventually they'll wear out. Because I've worn a couple out, but that's after like 2 or 3 years of work. But this DokiWare, it's really nice. This is like the Pro glove where it covers both fingers. It's really nice, and it keeps my tablet clean and my hand from getting really hot against the glass, which are some of my pet peeves. So I have that, and I use it. I've been using these gloves for years, ever since I was at Disney, and before. I actually used the Smudge Guard before, which was a good glove, but it wasn't perfect. It didn't have, this is nice because it has like the microfiber. This is a soft microfiber edge, and it's coated on the fingers too, which make it really nice. So it actually kind of cleans as it goes. Ooh. Yeah, and with the Mobile Studio Pro, one of the cons is like it has that matte anti-glare screen, which is nice in cases, but like you can see every fingerprint that you touch. And so I'm constantly like with my other hand, like when I do touch icons, I'm switching over and I'm cleaning the screen with my glove because it bugs me so much. But I really like the DokiWare glove. I've reached out to him several times to ask if I could pimp their ride, just basically I just want to promote you. How can I help get the word out? And I've never heard anything back because I don't know how big their operation is or what, if they're still cranking them out. I mean, I just bought these last month, so I'm sure they're doing, still making them. What do I think of the Huion tablet? I'm really excited that there's an actual competitor. I've heard people that use them enjoy them. I've never used them. Um, I think I looked into them a little while ago, and my only hesitancy was the resolution. But I really like that there's starting to be more competitors because I think it'll help Wacom push their tech a little bit harder. And you know, it's always I like competition. I think that's a good thing. Cam S, you picked up my courses last night. Hey, thank you so much. If you have any question, send them my way. I like, I'll normally get back to emails within a day or so or sooner. Um, are there no Redbeard discount codes? I don't do sales very often. Um, Maybe sometimes around. It, I don't even know when I do sales. Cyber Monday, maybe. Ooh, but I very rarely try to do sales. But maybe that's something I should start doing. I don't. I don't know. I try to price my tutorials. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I do sell tutorials. Let's see. There it is. Um, I do try to price my tutorials, on the more competitive side. That's not super expensive, but they're not the cheapest ones out there simply because there's a lot of content that I try to push into it, and I'm trying to give people skills that will help them further their careers and their talents as well. So, it's definitely something that I'm cautious about. Oh, about the glove. There should be a Redbeard discount code. Honestly, like I love their product so much that I want to get the word out there. I'm not looking for anything in return other than like I love their glove. Speaking of gloves, I don't know how this is a segue. Did you guys watch the 3D or the ZBrush Summit? Um, Tom, yes, I'm really enjoying a 3D printing tutorial. It's helped me get back into practice. Nice. Yeah, I know, Tom. Are you still doing awesome stuff with Tom's great. We've become friends, Tom and I. He's been doing some cool stuff at Weta and all sorts of cool stuff. So you should become friends with Tom because he's cool. Did your workflow change from blocking to polish, or is it still the same? Um, Summit was awesome. I my yes and no. I think I still live by a very like I work out the shapes first and then kind of polish back. I've become a lot looser in some of the stages when I'm not teaching, like when it's just kind of me doing stuff. I'm a lot looser and forgiving because I know like where I'm going to be able to fix it later on. So yes and no, but the principles are still very much the same. The things that I'm focusing on. And the ZBrush Summit was awesome. I am so excited for these updates. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the ZBrush, like the Joseph Drust and Solomon presentation, but those guys are doing some really cool stuff. Like that color shift stuff is something that I've wanted for so long. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about that. I mean, if that was the update alone, that would be enough for me to continue using ZBrush because I was this close to giving it up. They're throwing gloves around. I think it was a great transition. Hey Matt, sorry if this was asked earlier in the stream. I'm curious, how do you handle likeness to reference when working on for a client? That's a great question. I mean, that was something that I answered a little bit earlier, but it's mainly just dissecting. Like, I drew this concept, but the way that I went about dissecting it was I'm trying to figure out a couple of the core shapes. Like, what is the character design language made for this character? What is the attitude? What is the feeling that I'm trying to represent in this character? And let's just turn on everything real quick. And the ideas of like, okay, I want to get this eye shapes. I want to have there's a flow, a softness to this character that's not very rigid or very hard. Like everything are swooping curves. You know, the whole gown is just this big long swoop of emotion. So roundness and softness were something that I was conscious about when starting doing the 3D. And so that's kind of some of the stuff. Matthias, yes, Matthias is king. Guys, you should say hi to Matthias because he is the man. He is so cool. It was awesome meeting him at the Lightbox Expo and watching him on the sculpt off. Like, he's got some crazy mad skills that are must watch. Yes, there are a bunch of them. All of them are must watch talks at the summit. But Matthias is awesome. He did an awesome job at the sculpt off, and like it was cool because I knew he was in the second group, so it was fun to try to figure out which one was him or like try to figure out who was who in that. And I was completely wrong with Donna, but I think I was right with Matthias and Martine. Where do you get the custom? Do you get custom UI and brushes in your course? Yes. Everything that I do in my courses, like use and show, you get all of the brushes, the files and stuff. So yeah, I am going to be putting up soon kind of a free UI brushes part on my Gumroad. So I've been meaning to do it for weeks, and I'm just gonna do it. That's all I'm gonna do, is just say that I'm gonna do it and then do it. But yeah, if you get any of my tutorials, they'll come with all of the UI and brushes I use. I mean, there's a few that I mentioned that I don't include. Those are the ones that like brushes that I've paid for, brushes that I know that maybe are free, but they're still on people's own personal Gumroads. Those are the only ones that like I don't include, but I tell you where to go to get those. In this one, I actually did a little bit different because I'm trying to get the attitude a little bit sooner. I poly painted it a lot sooner than I would ever normally do, just to see how I like, if that's going to help at all. And I don't know if I'm going to actually want to do it, but kind of this is a sloppy technique of poly painting, but I'm planning on redoing it all anyways, all the poly paint. But just to kind of see how I like things. Is ZBrush your prime software, or do you spend more time in anything else? I do love, using softwares like Substance. I've never used Mari. I use 3D Coat a lot for topology, but I'm in ZBrush probably 90% of my day, 85 to 90% of my day. Never in Maya. I'm in Maya for the last 2% of any character, I think. I really, if I can stay out of Maya, I will. And I've found, I'm now so comfortable with the Z modeler brush that, it doesn't make sense for me to be in it. So yeah, I'm in ZBrush quite a bit. Will you make any hero figure course? Maybe. Maya is great for animation and simulation. Oh yeah, completely. I've heard great things about their retopo for sure. Yeah. Z modeler brush is definitely, I think, an underutilized tool from a lot of people. I mean, the people that use it hardcore because it's awesome. It does some really, really cool stuff. So, yes. Oh no. What am I doing? I take it back. But that, yeah, I actually just taught one of my newest courses is a hard surface modeling course, and a lot of it is just about the Z modeler brush. Just mainly it's cool to okay, so if I want one, let's just bevel this a little bit, and we want to have a little, kind of extrude just a little bit. So I can do it in a couple of ways. If I do poly loop, I can do an extrude. If I hold shift, it will not extrude, but just pull out a little bit, which gives it that kind of the dome-like of the ring that I want. And then I can just do a quick, I can crease these sides, but I actually just like to put edge loops around them. And this will just keep those edges. And then I've got a really nice, simple ring with not a whole lot of effort. You know, I can duplicate this really quickly too. Shrink it down. But then just having the power of being able to build kind of some of this stuff up. In ZBrush and not having to leave to do any of this is really nice. But a lot of this Z modeler stuff, like I hardly even think about anymore. I just like and can do it. It's like it's almost turned into basically just sculpting because it's become such a fast part of my workflow. I'm gonna try something here. Go into stroke mode. So this is a fun thing. So to get some of this detail, like I want it to kind of have this beaded effect around. I just changed one of my insert primitives brushes to a curve brush, and then just adjusting the size. I've got to change this to extrude. And that's just to get that little lip. now I've got this nice little detailed ring that didn't take hardly any effort at all. And if I want to like take this ring, and I do this fairly often where I actually build out how I want it to, the geometry to look. This isn't great for 3D printing, but it's good for renders. I'm sorry, I've been ignoring like questions and stuff. So, mate, any hot conspiracy theories for us? So I talked about the black-eyed children. What is another good conspiracy? When was the last time that I talked about... yeah, when was the last time I talked about anything? There is... The Men in Black conspiracy. That's a good one. Red's not his hair color. Ah ha ha. Oh, nice. Oh, somehow I horked that. Okay. Ah, I know what I did. That's... Sometimes when you do this, like, drag alt, it kind of molds over. So I just have to deselect it and then do it. There we go. Much better. The Men in Black conspiracies is a good one. It's another kind of those like lore things, but like these Men in Black who like they always have hats. They're always dressed in black suits, you know, black ties, and they come in and they always, you know, they're always telling you to after like a UFO experience or something. That's a good one. I still think my favorite one to talk about is Skinwalker Ranch, mainly because it's close to home. But I've read a couple books about it. I've watched some documentaries about it, and it just fascinates me that like they've got a full-on like multi-million-dollar science facility up on this Skinwalker Ranch in Salt Lake. Or not, it's not in Salt Lake. Sorry, excuse me. It is in the Uinta Mountains. Sorry, I'm trying to do so many things at once. Anyways, that one's really cool just because like it kind of brings everything together because you have UFO sightings, skinwalkers, and Bigfoot and Yetis, and you have ghosts and paranormal, and then you have interdimensional creatures, and just it gets really cool. Let's see what I want to do here. So that's always a fun one to talk about. I mean, I could talk about that one for hours, and I probably have talked about that for hours on one of these podcasts, or what do they call these things these days? What do you young kids call this? Um, is it possible to create directly in ZBrush a UDMI UV set? I don't know. You say they. Who is they? Or you, oh, so let's give you the. Let's go into the history of Skinwalker Ranch. So the history of Skinwalker Ranch, the late history, like not the early history. The early history of Skinwalker Ranch is that it was Indian land that we had given, that the United States had given Indians back after we stole it from them, obviously, and then we took it back again. And there was a big war. I mean, there was not. It wasn't a war, but there was a battle on that land. But there was also, whoops, a time that it was taken over by not only Indians but also the Freemasons, and then we did give it back years later after the Freemasons had inhabited the land for a while. And there's still like Freemason pictographs on the red or the rocks up there, and there's you find Freemason artifacts up there, so that's interesting too, because I find the Freemasons very interesting. Um, Something I've been to a couple of Freemason temples and taken some tours, and like I just found it very interesting stuff. Anyways, so we gave the Native Americans back their land, you know, after a time, and then next to that became a bunch of farm country, and this rancher from, I think he was from Colorado. He was either from Colorado or he was from Nevada. He came out and to make his ranch, because he bought this ranch for a screaming deal, apparently. But over years of having this ranch, he started experiencing crazy, crazy stuff going on. And like, and it was weird because so this is the start of it. They move in the first day that him and his family arrive. He's got his big truck, and then he's pulling a horse trailer full of horses. There's a few horses in the back of that trailer, and he is. Sorry, I'm going to keep sculpting, but I want to make sure I'm focusing on this. He gets to the gate, and as he's at the gate, he is stopped and is about to get out. This big wolf comes up to the truck, and he was saying that the wolf was eye level with him in the truck. Now, he was saying it was a big, hauler, big truck that he was hauling his horses in, and that he was eye level with this ginormous wolf. But it seemed really calm, like it wasn't aggressive. He like walked right up to so he thought maybe someone's just got this big giant wolf dog, and well, that's interesting. So it walks right up to him, and then they kind of look at each other, and then it goes and walks back to the horse trailer and looks at the horses for a while, and there was a little like baby horse back in there too, and all of a sudden it just starts like attacking the baby horse through the trailer. So he gets out, tells his wife and his son to stay in the trailer, and he grabs a gun from his compartment, and at point blank range shoots this wolf 6 times. The wolf stops, it looks at him, and then it slowly walks off. It like just kind of trots off. And then he yells at his son to get his shotgun, and his son gets his shotgun, and they start trying to like track the horse, or not the horse, but this giant, this giant wolf is what he explains. And it's already way off, and he has a picture of it, and it was in the book, of this giant wolf, and the wolf is like on the other side of this big fence, and the wolf is like, you can tell as the wolf, the back is higher than the fence post. Like it's this big, like imagine like the dire wolf from Game of Thrones. Basically that. And then they ran in and they were following the footsteps because it was this muddy ground, and all of a sudden the footsteps just disappear. And that was like their first experience, like welcome to the ranch, type of thing. And then, that was like the start of like some really crazy stuff that started happening. And it was all over the place, and it wasn't all paranormal, and it wasn't all, skinwalkers. It was like everything. So like they would go to the grocery store, like his wife would go to the grocery store, they'd come home, she'd unload all the groceries, and all of a sudden she'd go back into the room, and all the groceries would be back out of the cabinets and onto the table again. Or crazy things like they saw multiple orbs, like flying orbs, and his dogs were incinerated, he says, that like because they started chasing one of these orbs late at night, and he just was sick of it, and he said basically let his dogs go, and he never saw his dogs again. These dogs, he's like these prized hound dogs he had. And other crazy things, like he had all these like award-winning bulls, like he was a bull farmer. And I mean, there was a bunch of cattle mutilations that would happen, but like he was looking, he's about to move these bulls, and he was looking for where they were, because all of a sudden he noticed that it was really quiet. And he started looking, and he couldn't find these giant prize-winning bulls anywhere on his ranch. And then somehow he hears kind of a noise, but it's still quiet, and he looks and he sees all of his bulls are in one tiny horse trailer, like 8 bulls in this tiny like horse trailer that should fit like 6 horses. And he rushes over, and as soon as he gets to the trailer, they start freaking out and realize that they're like stuck. And so he has to get him out. The trailer's destroyed. Some of his bulls are injured. And just like these crazy stories. And so this farmer, who doesn't want any attention or limelight or anything, all of a sudden like now has to come forward, and like he doesn't know what to do. And so he comes forward and says, he goes to the media and says, like, I don't know what to do other than like ask for help. And so, he was in the local news stories for a while. Are you guys getting some bubbling? Sounds like X-Files. It is kind of like the X-Files. I think there's like a whole episode that was just very much off this. And so, lo and behold, there's this billionaire. I think his name is Dan Bigelow. I'm going to confirm that on Wikipedia. Dan Bigelow. I think it's Dan Bigelow. He's this big billionaire out of Robert Bigelow. Sorry, not Dan Bigelow. Robert Bigelow. He's like obsessed with the space watch and things like that. Let's see here. And so he starts looking into this, and he buys the ranch from the whoa hello. He ends up buying the ranch. I can confirm anything on Wikipedia. It's all true. But he ends up buying this ranch. This billionaire who's obsessed with like his goal, like this billionaire's goal, and is basically just to try to find proof of the paranormal and especially like alien aliens, UFOs. So he buys this ranch from this rancher, and then he proceeds to build a science facility on the ranch. Um, with the contract of the farmer can still have his cattle there, some of his cattle there, and kind of maintain the land while he's there. So this billionaire buys this ranch, sets up this multi-million-dollar science facility, and they put cameras everywhere, and they put all this crap to try to discover and to find proof of all this stuff. And the stories they have are crazy, crazy stories. And to the point that actually the really interesting thing about this is that, hey, we'll see you, Brian. Conspiracy is what we get tonight. Um, the the crazy thing is the Department of Defense actually rented the science facility and the land from Dan Bigelow for like a year or two. This is an actual confirmed thing. This is not hearsay or anything. It is actually like the Department of Defense used his science facility for at least 2 years. Um, Doing what? I have no idea. I'm getting a lot of weird reverb. Are you guys getting that, or is that just me on my audio? I'm gonna look at something really quick. Oh, here we go. Just making sure I don't have anything weird. Oh, it's right here. Just killing all these extra audio things. I think they're giving me some headache stuff. Well, if the weird jitter is probably because I'm sharing secrets. That's right. Yeah, it's the space agency out of Nevada. Yes, he has a whole program. He's got multiple facilities actually. Um, Anyways, they had this guy come up, this scientist. He came up and he was paid to all his whole job was to spend like 2 years on the ranch and just document their findings. And so like his whole book, this Hunt for Skinwalker, is actually just like this scientific, it's very scientifically written out and made, that of like their findings. And they had experiences with UFOs, skinwalkers, weird beasts that were in that they that they found these tracks, and they have like video and audio and pictures of like footprints of these three-fingered beasts that were really pretty big, cattle mutilations, weird markings in the ice. They have a couple UFO sightings they have pictures of and documentations of. Um, and his conclusion, because he doesn't answer anything, he's like, I don't know what it was. He has no idea what it was. Um, when Bigelow got into space, out of yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you have $1 billion, you got to just follow your hobbies, right? So his conclusion to this book was, because they have like all these things, and he starts going into like, okay, well, it's interesting that in places where you have more paranormal sightings and occurrences, you also have, you know, what was I saying? The places that you find like that have more like Bigfoot or Yeti experiences or sightings also have UFO sightings, and also have paranormal experiences. Like they're higher affected areas for some reason. And his theory, which he did like three different theories of like what he thought it could be, but the one that I thought was the most interesting was, he's like, well, what if they're all related? What if these Yetis, these skinwalkers, these UFOs, these paranormal experiences are all related, and they're all interdimensional things that we don't have the technology. And he's trying to explain it with like technology. Like, what if this is a technology? And like, could also explain like why can't we find Bigfoot? You know, are these interplanetary beings that are able to travel all over the place, or you know? But it was interesting because like, just explaining the paranormal side of things of, what if we're just really close to this interdimensional thing that can affect our dimension, and maybe we're the paranormal activity on their side of things. And it was really interesting. And like, he talked about interdimensional and timelines as like, time isn't a fluid thing, or time isn't a linear thing, but it's a fluid thing. And so it was really, really interesting book. I've listened to a bunch of people talk about paranormal studies, these experts on Yeti discovery and the mating habits of the Northern American Yeti homunculi. And the stuff is just so dumb because like, they don't know. There's no actual evidence, and this guy is not going at it from like an actual evidence type of thing. He's like, okay, well, these are the crazy experiences that I've had. I don't know how to explain them, so here's a few different possibilities of what any of that could be. So I liked it from that standpoint. And it's close by, so I always say like every year, we're gonna, around Halloween, let's go up there. We're gonna go up there and we're gonna go to the ranch, because it's like an hour and a half away from my house. The ranch is, but they still have like an armed guard there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the gate. Which, why would they have that there? Why would they have an armed guard at a um, at a farm? But I believe this Dan Bigelow recently sold the ranch to someone else, and I don't know who they sold the ranch to, but they sold it. He sold it to someone this past year or so. I think in 2018. But there's still an armed guard up there. Today's paranormal and tomorrow's normal. Exactly. Yeah, it was an interesting thing to think of like, oh, well, what if they are all related? What if we're just overlapping and we're just all using the same timeline, And it's not these aliens or things that we're seeing. We're just like crossing over to future us type of thing. I thought that was an interesting take on it. How to get super smooth surfaces for cartoony characters. Any conspiracies from India? I don't have any conspiracies from India. I bet there's some great conspiracies in India. Um, to answer the question about getting smooth surfaces, so basically it's all about topology. This isn't perfect topology, but it's pretty good topology. And this is all done in ZBrush. Like this is all just with the ZRemesher tool, basically. Just telling ZRemesher how I want things to go. But you're gonna get clean topology. You can get clean sculpts only by having fairly clean topology. And because I'm very particular about that, and especially with like female characters and babies, you need clean topology. You can't hide some stuff in wrinkles, like some of the more like grotesque or monstrous characters. You don't need to necessarily care about topology as much because um, because you can hide that in some other detail. What time is it? Oh my. It's 10 o'clock. Can't believe you knew about Bigelow. I don't meet many people that know about him. A campfire story for sure. I would be popping in my pants, pooping in my pants. Yes. Yeah, Bigelow. Um, Mainly just because I've done a lot of study about, you know, what is it called? That thing, Skinwalker Ranch. But that one, I keep coming back to that one, especially like around this time, just because it's kind of a fun one because it crosses over so many different things, and they just have some really cool stories, like some really cool stories. Like the researcher was, he was. Let's turn off the color real quick. He was out. They were trying to do like some surveillance mission, and they're trying to capture some like UFO evidence. And he's out, and he's got like infrared goggles and stuff. And all of a sudden, they see right below them because they're on kind of like this cliff. They can see like right below them a portal open up. And they're looking, and he's trying to look out and see with his like naked eye, and he doesn't see anything. And he's like, there's a hole right there. And they're watching, and he's like, and I watched this hole open up, and then I saw three figures come out that were kind of like beast like. And he explains them. He's like, they kind of hunched over and kind of walked like, you know like a yeti. I don't know if it was a yeti, but like they walked kind of. It wasn't a humanoid walk. It was more animal like. And he saw three of them come out, and then he saw it close. And just like the amount of detail that he had, it was like, oh my gosh, that was so crazy. And then he talked about the frustrations of trying to document things like this, where they set up cameras all over the ranch. Um, oh man, I'm missing these comments. Let's see. Hold on. Yes, that's I said he the Bigelow bought a ranch up in Utah to do these science, and he built this science facility to basically study extraterrestrials and the paranormal. Yes. Imagine states paid millions of dollars to the UFO hunt. Some people even made their career based on those fake news. Yep. The problem is nuclear army. Probably. Three figures: Uncle Jeff, Uncle Steve, and Grandpa Jenkins. Yeah, that was probably it. I don't know. It was just a cool thing. It was just it was a cool story, and it was definitely like I'm not a huge reader. I mean, I enjoy reading, but this one, like, I could not put down. It was The Hunt for Skinwalker was the name of the book, by the way. I'm gonna turn off the music for a little bit. I was like wrecking my ears for some reason. I don't know if it was coming in really crackly for you guys, but it was really bad for me. So at this point, this is probably when I actually retopologize, or not retopologize, but polypaint this thing in a little bit better light, because right now it's just like flats, and this is a very kind of the 3D printing mentality of polypaint. So I'm gonna repaint her really quick. Yeah, he is making space puns for the space station. Yeah, he actually works like a lot with NASA and does all this crazy stuff. Um, it's really crazy the stuff that he's a real dude, not some nut. I mean, he is a nut, but it's crazy. Honestly, when they came up with the Area 51 storm, I was thinking, hey, some heavy community out there got a new Burning Man festival, but no, just saw some scared fat rangers staring shock. Yeah. Yeah, the Area 51 thing was never like a real thing. Meet us at 312 King Elder Lane, Leader, Texas for glory, gold and God. Man, let's do it. Okay, that sounds great. Well, I'm glad I blew your mind tonight. If you want a good book, a good read, that Hunt for Skinwalker is a lot of fun. Um, Now we're going to get into some crazy poly paint. And I think I've done this several times. It's a little too dark. Okay. But if anyone has any questions about what I'm doing, basically what I'm doing is just I'm kind of going through and faking kind of a subsurface scatter to this. And because, we're gonna get some actual skin details. I want, her to feel a little bit more real. This is just kind of a quick and dirty thing, but it's pretty effective. You're gonna get some of these streaky things, but that's okay. Kind of the imperfections are actually pretty good on a thing like this. Another good conspiracy is the stuff that Dr. David Greer is doing. If anyone is familiar with that name, it would be really cool to say, I know who that is. Um, he is kind of the leader of this. He's a scientist as well, but he's kind of like a big pusher in trying to reveal UFOs and aliens, and he's got this thing where he's trying to, like, he does these um what does he call them, like close encounters of the fifth kind, where he goes out with these groups and he does these chants and stuff, and more than not people go to these and they say that they see UFOs at these events. And I'm not going to say who, but I know someone who has actually been to one of these, and they said, yeah, we went out to like the middle of the forest or desert or wherever we were, and we started chanting for about an hour, or meditating, and then about an hour later things started showing up, and we could see them in binoculars, and we could signal them and they would signal back. I'm like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. But he's got a couple cool documentaries. One is, I think they're both free. They might both. One is called Full Disclosure, and I think that one is on Netflix, about him trying, he interviews a bunch of former NASA, former government employees, and goes through, and they try to, the whole thing is like talking about trying to get people to talk about UFOs and extraterrestrials, and also renewable energy. Like, he's a big proponent of renewable energy. He has a full science facility where he gives out grants to people to come and to be on his science facility and to research and develop renewable energy, like 0 point energy kind of stuff. Renewable and, yeah, basically just awesome stuff, because there's been so many cases of big companies like GE, ransacking people's apartments who are studying these things and making breakthroughs, and all of a sudden someone who says, oh, I found this great source, I've discovered the renewable energy thing, and all of a sudden they commit suicide, or they fall off a bridge, or they die mysterious, like weird things. Like, that's the one of the weirdest things, is like how many of these scientists that have studied renewable energy and have had breakthroughs and have demoed even some of their stuff at conventions, and then they die because they committed suicide, or they got in a crazy plane accident and 14 scientists all die at one time, or weird things like that. Let's see, I'm missing some good comments here. I do have my own Twitch. I don't use it very often, but I do. I knew a guy who was following the UFO stuff, but he was a geologist and actually was collecting stone probes around the world and selling random UFO stories and campfires. Nice. Till son Puma started on chewing on his leg. This got interesting. Nice. Yeah, it's crazy that the people going out into the wilderness and chanting and seeing stuff. Um, no fire. Oh yeah, yeah. The recent like energy groups or like people that are invested. Like if renewable energy were to come out, let's say we have an alternative for fuel or for coal or for anything. Imagine like we had a big breakthrough where yes, we've discovered a way that cars no longer need gas. They no longer need this. Um, or houses no longer need coal electricity. And it's a cheap, fully viable, renewable, easy to use solution. That puts companies like GE out of business, a multi-trillion-dollar company out of business. And that, I believe, is where true conspiracy lies, where they would do anything to make sure that they stay, that nothing is going to stop that. And I think that's terrifying. Because, like, I mean, now, like, learning all these stories of, like, Will Smith was just in that movie about a conspiracy concussion. How, the NFL was trying to keep this scientist from coming forward and talking about brain trauma and concussions. And that was just about football. Like, imagine something that would be life changing and environment changing and economy changing as that. How much money is involved with that? I mean, that I'm sure would cause an uproar. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's my high level conspiracy for tonight. But if I had an opportunity to go on one of those forest meditation things, I would do it in a heartbeat. His other documentary was actually really cool too. I think it was called, um, what was it called? The Unacknowledged, and it was also about a bunch of former government workers all coming forward and talking about their UFO experiences. Um, that one's less about renewable technology or renewable energy, which is what I thought was really cool by that first one. Multinational and capital is no longer their place in this world that turns just for them. Yeah. Uh-huh. This reminds me of the movie with Keanu Reeves involving some new water power generator and some black retired officer being Black Ops boss in CIA, which killed everyone and huge thermonuclear explosion wiping out the whole town and the map as if none will note something like that. I don't remember that movie. Yeah. He's got an app. the meditation guy, he's got an app, and so we went out to Wyoming um, during during the time of the eclipse a couple of years ago, and I made him go out on a golf course with me in the middle of the night and do this meditation thing, and it got pretty. We were not in the right. I mean, who knows if it works, but we were pretty silly about the whole thing. So chain reaction. I don't think I've seen that. Bob Lazar legit. Um, I don't know. Probably. Probably not. I don't know. Okay. Let's see here. Ah. Now she looks way better, don't you think? I'm going to come back with my base color at a really low opacity and start. I'm going to build up a little bit more and just start filling this in again. And this is just going to give me the texture that I want. The foundation. Movie had always old man. Can't remember. Vegetable vampire. What? I'm so lost. The Chain Reaction movie had a vegetable vampire, or this guy played a vegetable vampire? And what is a vegetable vampire? Okay. I think we have a better base now. It's still a little too saturated up here. So basically I'm just kind of painting out all that texture that I just did, but it's still there. If you go into solo mode or to flat mode, you can see, you know, color's still, the texture's still there underneath. It's very subtle now, but it's there. Just starting with ZBrush, a tip that you can give. I recommend working from low resolution up, like very simple shapes. Work out the shapes, slowly subdivide. You shouldn't be getting into like high subdivisions until you've kind of figured out the core shape. So just go slow, work it out. Morgan Freeman was the vegetable vampire on the Electric Company in the 70s. He, he was old even then. That's awesome. I don't, I don't even know the Electric Company. That's great. Morgan Freeman is one of those people that I wish could narrate my life. It just in my head. I'd be okay with that. Um, have you created a nuts Redbeard conspiracy madman character? That would be fun to see. That is, I have. It's me. Prince Charles is a vampire. Who is Prince Charles? He does have the voice of an angel. Um, who is Charles? I don't know if he's a vampire, but I think he's probably in the conspiracy with Antarctica, which is another one of my favorite conspiracies. If you guys have a fun moment, you guys should just do the look up the Antarctica conspiracy because that is fun and like it's so mystifying of like what is going on of like all these world leaders have all spent like a week or two in Antarctica and nobody owns. Why does nobody own Antarctica? Like it's full of minerals and like resources in a day and age where that's pretty much all that matters. Why aren't why aren't people why aren't we there? Um, I don't want to be there. Like I'm glad that nobody owns it, but it's just an interesting thing. And then like that they have all these world leaders that go and spend lengths of time in Antarctica when it's one super hard to get to, and two not necessarily a great place to be climate wise once you are even there. So that's a fun that's one of my other favorite conspiracies is like why do all these world leaders go to Antarctica? Why was Hitler's one of his number one priorities was trying to have a base on Antarctica? That's another crazy one. And then like the Nazi UFO um, blueprints. They had like blueprints to build a UFO that flew on like zero gravity energy and like why were these things? One of the there's a bunch of different theories on all that. Not to ruin this for you, but one of them was because of they believe that Antarctica is like the treaty grounds for you know in, aliens, and that it was a the opening to where the to where the inner Earth society lives because it's believed that inside of the Earth is not molten lava, but in fact the Earth is hollow and there's a whole alien civilization down there. This one's so good. Um, just because there's some really great interviews with this guy who basically talks about how he made love to the inner Earth society queen or something, and how this other guy who he kept just calling him Sanchez, he was um, his subordinate. Like he wasn't in charge, the guy who's being interviewed, but the aliens just wanted to talk with him and not and not this other guy. And he keeps talking about how this other guy was always mad at him, but it makes it just basically just talking about how he's great. It's pretty funny and like if you look at it on that aspect of life, pretty funny. But he was a part of the guy that he claims to be a part of the secret space program, which is called the secret space program. That's the official name, which is another conspiracy. There was a film about that journey to the center of the Earth. Yeah, but they missed that on the aliens. You really need the aliens to be in that center of the Earth, or it just isn't going to be the same. But that one, his interviews are all on uh, Gia, GIAI.com, which is basically a website for crazy conspiracies, um, and really entertaining stuff. And the guy who's interviewing him, you can kind of tell doesn't really believe him, but is always like, "Oh yeah, oh, okay." He's got this big, like, fluffy hair. It's pretty awesome. You've seen video on North and South Antarctica, the feeding grounds of life. Yeah, I mean, there's crazy things there. Something to do with the magnetic poles and the sun rays and radiation coming through all. Yeah, I mean, there's some really like, especially Antarctica. I don't know too much about the North Pole, but like, there's just some really interesting sciency stuff. You know all about that sciency stuff. Um, that make it like, oh, so why world like the world doesn't agree on anything right now? Like the world doesn't agree on anything, right? Can we agree on that? Um, and but for some reason, the world has agreed that Antarctica is no-go land for anyone. I don't know how that happens. Hugo, yes. But if aliens live under the earth, doesn't that make him aliens, but in fact terrestrials like us? No, because they are from other planets. They don't live there. They're staying here. It's like a vacation home. The inner earth is a vacation home for the inner earth society, of course. I hope that clears everything up. So they still are aliens. Um, another 30 years. That's funny. Anyways, that's some good conspiracy tonight, I think. I think we've touched on some good topics. I need honestly I want to find like a good new one because I mean besides like that new one on Netflix, The Family, which is more depressing than anything else. I need a good new one. A good new one. Like what? I think that other one. What is it? Project. What is it? Project Blue Light or Project? Um, I can't remember what it's called. It's called like Project Blue Light, I think. And it's basically the government or something has figured out religion somewhere high up. What's going to happen to Seattle in November? Is something supposed to happen to Seattle in November? You should film what's happening in Seattle in November. Oh my gosh, please tell me what's gonna happen in Seattle. I like the Pacific Rim one and the aliens. Oh, that one was great. Oh, Project Blue Book. Yeah, that one's where they're planning on faking the second coming of Christ by doing a projection into the sky because they've figured out how to do 3D hologramic projections from space. And they're going to usher in kind of a new world order with the basis of Christ has returned, where they can now do world warfare and Christians against everyone else and that kind of thing. I think a mixture helps spawn the krill come out of the Antarctica. What's my take on DeLung? I don't know what Tom DeLung. Who's Tom DeLung? I don't know that reference actually. I'm looking up. Oh, yeah, the Blink 182 guy. That was awesome, actually. Like, he actually caused people to come forward and say, yeah, this is UFOs. We don't know what the UFOs are. They're not saying anything. Yeah. Um, um, so, I mean, it's cool, like that they had to, I mean, that was a cool thing. That was a cool thing. So yeah, I liked that a lot actually. So look, she looks so different now. Basically, she looks the same, um, with some subtle textures that maybe only I'd notice. Oops. I don't know. It's interesting. Like when there's sometimes big events that happen. There was like in China, the airport closed down because there was a UFO, and the media reported on it, and like there was it got really big in Britain because one of the pilots uh, was from England, and he said, well, we can't fly because there's this thing hovering over the airport, and there's all this documentation on it, and there's these photos and stuff all about it. 11, the third of 11, there's going to be the Great Seattle Fire. Think about all the movies about Seattle being on fire. If we don't talk about it, they'll call it off. I don't know this conspiracy. I do know the reference to the date though, because they've talked about. I've seen that in movies they often reference that specific date, but I didn't know that it was about Seattle being on fire. That's crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. We've got to talk about it. Let's see. So this is just her base skin color that we're getting here, and we're gonna do the makeup over this. And sometimes I like to do makeup on layers, where I'll just start doing one color at a time type of thing. I like how we switch from it's like Seattle's gonna burn to oh, this is how I paint. This is how I paint makeup. But I'm gonna have to look at that a little bit more because I remember hearing about this date and they referenced those numbers a lot in several different movies. Oh man, I deleted all this detail that I didn't want to. I'm Let's save this. I haven't saved this whole time. Horrible at saving things. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. I meant to change my smooth to RGB. Sometimes painting like just the eyeshadow, not on a layer, just blends everything a little bit better. Just have to be a little bit more careful then. It's funny because we started the very first thing that I said today on the stream was like, I've been watching the Friday and 13th movies. And I haven't talked about that at all. The only thing that I mentioned was Kevin Bacon. And that Kevin Bacon is in that movie. And I think, oh man, Kevin Bacon was great in that movie. Because I keep forgetting that he's in it. It was like one of the first things he's ever done. And he's fantastic. Even then, you're like, oh, the bacon. But that first Friday the 13th is so good. It's just like well constructed, has some surprises, it's corny. I really can't wait to get Jason Does Manhattan. I'm sure those are going to be the glory years of the Friday the 13th franchise. Okay. And the colors look all funky here simply because I am in layers painting, but I can see the areas that I'm going to be detailing out, so I can do quick, poly paint and still know what I'm doing. But the benefit of painting in layers, is just the ability to erase more or less. Like I've just done her lipstick here, but let's say I had accidentally drawn up here, I can go through and erase it by holding Alt. And I'm not, horking the color underneath. But layers really only does well with like solid colors. So as long as I'm not like trying to blend colors, I'll be fine. But as soon as I try to blend any of those colors, it's going to be pretty bad. Have I heard of, what's my take on the new Picard show? The new Picard show looks awesome. I'm so excited for that, actually. I'm not a Trekkie, but I loved New Generations. Or Next Generation, sorry. Obviously, not a Trekkie, but I did really love the Next Generations and Picard especially. So that looks really cool. And then, have I heard of the Uniz resin 3D printer? I have not. I'm looking that up, Matthias, right now. The Uniz 3D printer. Ooh, is this thing awesome? Is this the one that they gave you? Oh, ho, 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 ho. This is like a Form Labs level 3D printer. You won that? You're freaking awesome. That's so cool. Have you tried it out yet? Have you been able to try it out? Have things calmed down enough for you to like enjoy life again? I mean, you were enjoying life pretty good. On the lips, can you mix the materials? Yes, you can. Um, so this is, if I was going to render this in ZBrush, which I'm not going to. Yes. What I would do is I could just, so you have your options of, it's supposed to be better than the form sheet. It looks pretty nice. It looks freaking awesome. Anyways, you have your options of you can paint the RGB, you can paint the material, or you can do both. So the material is the current material you have selected. So if I change this to like a toy plastic, now let's actually first fill this with our skin shade 4. Whoops. Here, undo that. And I'm going to go out of this, turn that on. I'm going to bake all. But now I'm going to do a fill all. So this, no matter if I change these materials, that skin, this is going to stay the same. But if I wanted to paint the lips a bit different, I just choose the material I want, have my material as my brush, like I want just painting the material, and I can now go in and paint just the material so the lips come across shiny. Now this is really good because like if I wanted to, I mean there's a couple things. If I paint this material in, I can do a couple things in KeyShot. It separates subtools by different materials. So if I wanted to, I could just separate those out and, have that drive what material I put on it. Also, if I render this in ZBrush, I can choose render properties in this material blend radius. So this is like how far it will blend two things. So instead of having kind of like a jaggedy edge, like it's kind of hard to see, but you see it there. It kind of has this jaggedy edge. If I render this now, it's going to kind of blur that edge out. See, watch this. I mean, that's a really good render. But it starts to blur that out, and I just would crank that up a little bit so it gets kind of that look. But it's kind of nice, even just for this. Like, maybe I'll just keep it for look dev. Why not? No, you're waiting to send them to send it. Oh, it's supposed to be here much faster, better quality, and cheaper resin. Sounds too good to be true. Man, I hope it is though, because like that thing looks awesome. I'm gonna have to do some more research into this because it looks pretty awesome. The material is quite a bit cheaper too, because like the Formlabs material is like 160 a liter, and this is only around, I mean, $70 a liter, and then $100 for the higher end stuff. That looks nice. What is a minion? I think I missed that question or that reference. A minion, I believe, is what follows Gru around on Despicable Me. Now, I had created the perfect, well, I'm going to look this up. I created the perfect brush for what I want to do next. And I'm going to see if I still have it maybe on my Google's Drive. Mm-hmm. Excuse me while I look at things. I can't remember if it's named RB. Oh man, I left it at work. I'm the worst. Ugh. Anyways, I created the perfect freckle brush in ZBrush. Like I used it on a bunch of different things. A disposable lackey. Let's see here. I'm gonna paint some occlusion just a little bit. Oh, thank you. Oh, I wish I had that freckle brush. Anyways, I can get away with not doing it that way. I want to paint these though. Maybe the same color as this. I might want to sculpt these up a little bit. We'll see. Oh, it's painting the material. So normally, like, I would actually sculpt out the fingernails and possibly even, I mean, I would, like, they'd be their own subtools. But this is kind of just to be a quick project anyways. I think I just want to call it Dunzo pretty soon. Hey, from UK, nice. Thanks for joining us tonight. Well, well, well. This is embarrassing, Mr. Jack Bohm. Um, uh, oh. How's it going, Jack? Jack, everyone should know Jack Bohm. If you don't know Jack, um, Googled him. Use the internet Googles. That's the one that I recommend. He is a fantastic artist and is going to be taking over the industry shortly after he poisons everyone, which I think he's working on right now. No, he's a fantastic artist, and is really quite talented. He's an intern at our studio, the Epic Games, and is quickly taking over everything, including um, the the cool dude award, which I was running for. I really wanted. I tried to get, but I couldn't get it. And then I was like this close. And then Jack came in, and everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's got it. Sorry." And so, story of my life. How long have I been doing this project? Um, on and off for a couple of weeks. I mean, I probably one session of this is my second session of ZBrush on the Pixelogic stream, and then I've done a couple nights. I've probably worked on it maybe 3 nights, four or not, not 3 nights, probably 4 nights. Um, uh, Probably 4 nights for a few hours. So oops. Dun, 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 dun. I'm gonna start making my own music because that's where the real fun is. Oh, thank you, Jack. Less person. Oh, good. Thank goodness. You know I don't react very well to poison. Jack, you just missed us talking about the Antarctica conspiracy stuff. I know Jack is a pretty firm believer in my conspiracies that I tell him. So that's why we get along. It's because I know that he also believes. At least that's what he tells me. Gotta figure out how these bracelets are actually gonna hang. Mm, let's call that. These are metal bracelets. They're going to be hanging down quite a bit. I don't know. We'll keep them inward, outward. That's probably fine. Whatever. Matt told me the theory of how the aliens actually released Sasquatch into North America forests by throwing conspiracy theorists off their trail. Pretty convincing argument. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You're not supposed to say that though. This is a high level conspiracy, Jack. If this gets mainstream, it may ruin all conspiracies everywhere, and that's not going to be good. What time is it? I'm going to get off in just a few minutes here. How beginner friendly is my hard surface course? It is more geared for someone who is familiar with ZBrush's like interface, and like if you are familiar with just navigating ZBrush, you'd be okay with the hard surface course, simply because all the stuff that I'm teaching is very Z modeler focused, which um, is new for most, even more advanced. So I go pretty slow at the beginning and kind of talk about all the steps, and then I'll speed things up. But if you're comfortable just like navigating, you know how to mask, you know how to clear, select things and clear selections and things like that. It's basically the basic stuff that I don't cover, but if you can navigate around, you'll be fine. Don't forget the part about how the Yeti and the Loch Ness monster sightings are related. They are. They always happen on the third Tuesday of every fourth month. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, then I think you'd be okay with the intro. Um, it's fairly like slow and meant for beginners, especially for hard surface stuff. It's not completely like from the ground up beginner though. Just doing some fill hair. Oh, cool. Hey, Matt, thought I'd stop by and say thank you for being consistent inspiration to improve and to keep up the great work. Hey, thank you so much, Chicken Hawk, for coming by. I love that. Love the name Chicken Hawk. No, thank you for saying something. It actually is. It's very just inspiring to me to hear that, and like honestly, it's I do this because I very much enjoy sharing my knowledge, and it's just nice to hear that people can enjoy it as well, I guess. Me my rambles. So thank you. Ah, that feels better. Except for this piece here. But let's fix it. I'm going to fix this piece with the Z modeler brush. May have just crashed. Nope. Oh, it didn't. Should probably save though. That's probably like the sign of the ZBrush telling. You know, we've talked a lot of good conspiracy theory today, Matt. But maybe, just maybe, not tonight. Said I should just say